September 2014. A small Austrian startup called denovo Software Solutions released a digital fortress they claimed was uncrackable. For the first time in 30 years, the pirates who had treated the global gaming industry like an open buffet were terrified. Games that usually leaked onto torrent sites days before their official release were suddenly staying locked, some for weeks, some for months. The underground groups that had built their reputations on breaking every lock industry giants could devise were staring at a wall of code they couldn't penetrate. It looked like the end of the line for digital piracy. But the silence didn't last. Within years, this invincible shield was being shattered in hours, sometimes by a single person working out of a bedroom. Today, the war between billion-dollar corporations and shadowy crackers has escalated into a psychological and technical nightmare that affects every single person who picks up a controller. This is the story of the digital arms race that never ends. To understand why games get cracked so quickly, you have to understand the scene. This is not a loose collection of hackers. It is a highly organized, ritualistic underground society that has existed since the days of the Commodore 64. For the members of the scene, it was never about the money. In fact, selling a cracked game is the ultimate sin, a breach of code that results in immediate banishment. The currency of the scene is prestige. It is the first. If a AAA title like Call of Duty or Grand Theft Auto launches at midnight, the race is on to see which group can upload the functional, stripped-down version of the game first. The groups, names like Razor 1911, Skid Row, Codex and CPY, operate like secret intelligence agencies. They have their own servers, their own encrypted communication channels, and a set of rules more rigid than most corporate bylaws. This underground empire grew alongside the industry it preyed upon.
As gaming moved from floppy disks to CDs and eventually to digital downloads, the locks became more sophisticated. In the 1990s, it was simple serial keys. In the 2000s, it was CQ-ROM, which limited how many times you could install a game you paid for. Each time a company built a better cage, the scene found a way to melt the bars. By the early 2010s, piracy was so rampant that many publishers considered the PC platform a lost cause. They claimed that for every 1 copy sold, 10 were stolen. But the industry's response would trigger a backlash that still defines the gaming world today. The introduction of denovo changed the math of the war. Denovo isn't just a lock on the door, it is a labyrinth of shifting mirrors. Most digital rights management, or DRM, works by checking a digital license when you launch the game. If the license is valid, the door opens. Crackers would simply find the part of the code that asked, "Do you have a license?" and change the answer from no to yes. It was basic surgery. Denovo, however, is what the industry calls anti-tamper. It integrates itself into the game's core functions. It constantly checks for its own integrity thousands of times per second while you're playing. It uses triggers hidden in the gameplay code itself. If you try to bypass one check, 10 more go off. If you try to debug the code to see how it works, the code detects the debugger and shuts down or mutates. For a brief window between 2014 and 2016, the crackers were losing. Some of the most famous pirate groups publicly announced they were giving up, claiming that in 2 years, free games would no longer exist. Yet, the pressure of a challenge is exactly what the scene thrives on. They stopped trying to remove the lock and started trying to trick it.
Instead of tearing down the fortress, they built a ghost that could walk through the walls. This is known as emulation. The crackers began writing their own software that sits between the game and the DRM, feeding the DRM the exact answers it wants to hear without ever actually having a valid license. The speed at which this happens is the result of a terrifyingly high level of technical expertise. A top-tier cracker is not a script kiddie using downloaded tools.
They are masters of assembly language, the low-level machine code that speaks directly to the computer's processor. They spend hundreds of hours staring at hexadecimals, looking for the tiny triggers that denovo hides. They use custom-built tools to trace the game's execution, following the path of the data through the CPU. When a game gets cracked in 24 hours, it is often because the cracker has already spent years studying previous versions of the protection. They know the patterns. They know where the developers are likely to hide the traps. But there is a darker truth behind the speed of these cracks. As the scene groups began to retire or get arrested by the FBI and Interpol, a new player emerged who changed the face of the conflict. Known only as Empress, this individual, or perhaps a group, began cracking the most difficult denovo titles with a speed and ferocity that bordered on the supernatural. Empress didn't just break the games, they used the NFO files, the text documents that accompany pirated games, to launch bizarre philosophical diatribes against the gaming industry, other crackers, and society at large. The technical brilliance was matched only by a sense of personal instability. In 2023, when the massive RPG Hogwarts Legacy was released with the latest, most advanced version of denovo, Empress cracked it in less than 10 days. It was a feat many thought impossible. It sent a message to the industry: no matter how much you spend, the wall will fall.
This constant warfare has created a massive amount of collateral damage, and the victims are the paying customers. Because denovo and other DRM systems are constantly running in the background, performing thousands of cryptographic checks, they consume CPU power. For years, gamers have complained that DRM causes frame rate drops, stuttering, and longer loading times. In some cases, the pirated version of a game actually runs better than the version people paid $60 for. This is the ultimate irony of the industry. The very tools meant to protect the product are degrading the experience for the only people who are actually supporting the developers. Companies like Ubisoft and EA are caught in a trap of their own making. They know that the first 2 weeks of a game's launch are when 90% of the revenue is generated. If they can keep the game uncracked for just those 14 days, the DRM has done its job. They don't care if it's cracked on day 15. But to get those 14 days, they have to implement increasingly invasive and bloated software that treats every customer like a potential thief. We have entered an era of always online requirements, where even single-player games require a constant connection to a corporate server. If your internet blinks, or if the company decides to shut down the servers 10 years from now, the game you bought becomes a useless pile of encrypted data. Yet the pirates justify their actions through the lens of digital preservation. They argue that without cracks, thousands of games would be lost to history as old DRM systems become incompatible with new versions of Windows. They see themselves as the librarians of the digital age, stripping away the corporate rot to ensure the software can live forever. But this noble framing hides the reality of a multi-billion-dollar loss for creators, ranging from massive conglomerates to small indie studios who can be bankrupted by a single day of piracy.
The speed of the crack is also fueled by the leaks within the industry itself. The gaming world is a porous one. Review copies are sent out weeks in advance to thousands of influencers and journalists. Sometimes a disgruntled employee or a careless tester leaks a clean build of the game that doesn't even have the DRM implemented yet. In other cases, developers accidentally upload the wrong version of the game to Steam, a debug executable that has the protections turned off. When this happens, the game is cracked in seconds. The fortress wasn't breached, someone just left the back door wide open. As we move deeper into the 2020s, the battleground is shifting. Publishers are moving toward cloud gaming and server-side logic. In games like Diablo 4 or the latest Hitman titles, crucial parts of the game's code don't even live on your hard drive. They live on the company's servers. You can't crack what you don't possess. This is the scorched earth policy of the gaming industry. If they can't stop the pirates from breaking the lock, they will simply take the door away and keep it in their own house.
But even this has a countermove. Hackers are now working on private server emulators, essentially rebuilding the corporate servers from scratch through reverse engineering. It's a slow, grueling process, but the history of the last 40 years suggests one thing: the pirates have more time than the corporations have money. The cracker is an individual driven by ego, obsession, or a twisted sense of justice. The corporation is a machine driven by quarterly earnings. One side is playing for the thrill of the kill, the other is playing for survival. The cycle is a perfect loop of frustration. A game is announced, the publisher spends millions on a new version of denovo, the game launches, and paying customers experience technical glitches caused by the DRM.
Within 48 hours, a cracker in a high-rise in Moscow or a basement in London finds the flaw, bypasses the check, and uploads a clean version to the world. The publisher loses millions, the cracker gains rep, and the average gamer is left wondering why the hobby they love has become a battlefield. We are living in an era where software is no longer something you own, but something you rent under the watchful eye of a digital guard. The pirates claim they are the ones breaking the chains, while the developers claim they are just trying to keep the lights on. Both sides are digging in for a war that has no ceasefire in sight. As long as there is code, there will be someone trying to read what was meant to be hidden. As long as there is a lock, there will be someone who sees it as an invitation. This is the high-stakes, invisible engine of the digital world, where the most advanced security on the planet is often no match for a bored genius with a point to prove. This is the volatile reality of how games get cracked, a cycle of innovation and infamy that is tearing the industry apart even as it pushes the boundaries of what is possible.